looks like he's coming our way. Hopefully we can scare him away.
This is it, last day. We're leaving tonight. Yeah, I had a whole pile of people emailing me in about not having to be vaccinated to travel US. I have a few people that we know from here. Sarah knows, got a hold of them and said they actually flew to Florida. Nobody asked for nothing. Another person emailed said somebody flew to California, didn't ask for nothing. But with my luck, because it said in the fine print or the big bold on the itinerary, it said you have to be vaccinated to enter the US by plane. So when you read that and you've got a good fair amount of money invested in that ticket for the two of us, you probably need to do something about it, right? I would on average be a bit of a dumbass to ignore that bold print on my itinerary and attempt to board a plane without being vaccinated to the US anyway, right? But anyway, I found my way around it. But I do have a credit, so that means I will be utilizing that credit to fly around the US again. Who knows where I'll go or what I'll do, but that'll be another chunk of adventure for sure. Now, lots of voices, lots. Quick note, for all of my fellow Canadians here, don't forget, Chrystia Freeland, the finance minister who is direct bloodline to a Nazi war criminal, was absolutely caught red-handed trying to embezzle $2 billion of our money into a company that does not exist. Okay, that's how blatant the criminals are acting. And I need to get that word out, and I'll be done on that word now. One more thing, Jordan Peterson, he has been very vocal about our corrupt government in Canada. Very vocal, which he should be, but he has a very large following. So the larger following you get, the more you point out the truth, they come after you. And right now they're actually trying to make him get, quote, re-educated, end quote, with the Ontario Commission of Doctors, whatever it is. He made a video explaining exactly what they're trying to do to him. And that's very alarming. That should be alarming for every single person in Canada, if not North America, basically the Western world right now. All the governments in the Western world are absolutely corrupt, and they're doing some very nasty shit. But anyways, I thought I'd point that out, because when you have our Canadian government coming after you and attempting to revoke your license if you're a professional for speaking against them, and that's the only reason, and then actually trying to make someone, quote, get re-educated, end quote. That's some creepy ass North Korean shit right there. In your face, here today in Canada stand. All right? There you go. Man, it just frustrates me to no end that our military and law enforcement does not just go in there and clean ass, right? Clean it up, kick ass, clean house, clean it up. Come on, you guys, do something, right? You're the ones that are supposed to be protecting the people. Get rid of this regime. That's what I got to say. It's nasty. All right, end of my babble. Let's listen to some important voices today. Listen to this. Feel free to use my name. My name is Bill Pettigrew, because exactly like you, I do not care what anyone else thinks. I know my truth. I freaking love it when emails start with that sentence. Welcome to the Club of No Return. He just says, I'm a proud member of the Club of No Return. Yeah, aren't we all? But more importantly, you're a free man, free, brave man here to spread honest truth. Part 1, I grew up near Elk Creek in Northwest PA. My friends and me played in the woods all year round. I don't remember any negative or strange events in that time. My original event occurred in the spring of '79. I worked in a chemical plant in Ashtabula, Ohio. The small crew would gather in the control room during the quiet times and BS about everything. One night, the discussion was about the steelhead run on the Conneaut Creek, C-O-N-N-E-A-U-T. The fish stocking had occurred 4 to 5 years previous, and it was time for the more mature fish to come upriver and spawn. Several days later, I decided to try and catch a steelhead or rainbow trout. I parked at the playground and walked down the small bluff that would put me near the west branch of Conneaut Creek. That was the path. There was a path there alongside the creek that would take you upstream or down. The creek was perfectly clear. I chose downstream, looked for deeper water pools. About 100 yards down the path, the bluff to my left closed in until it was 15 to 18 feet away. I heard the sound of shuffling in the bushes. Then I smelled an awful stink. I glanced to my left, and in my head I heard, "Don't stop, keep going." I turned around to go back the way I came, and the voice clearly and loudly said, "Not that way." I turned around and took a couple of steps while looking left. I was puzzled, but not fearful. I just wanted to get away from the smell. I momentarily saw the top of a large, black, hairy head. The head was slightly pointed, and definitely not a human or a bear. The head was moving sideways, back and forth, and the voice in my head said, "Go, don't stop." I obeyed. I still have no recollection of getting back to my car or driving home. In fact, this entire event was lost in my memory until I found your posts and listened to several others who had missing memories of encounters. Thank you. Holy shit. Then it says part 2, and then that's the end of it. Darn it. I don't know what happened there. I hope maybe it was me or you. Either way, send us part 2. And those are classic descriptions, swaying back and forth, and the shape of the head, and hearing something projected into our mind, right? Said about 10,000 other human beings. Plus, probably. Thanks for coming out, man, and email me back part 2, all right? It's back and it likes tobacco. Hi, Steve. Josh from Middle Tennessee again. I know you're busy and I probably shouldn't even bother you with this, but these MFers are back. It's been a few months since I sent you all the weird shit where they were coming up vocalizing while we were burning brush, and I was finding tops broken out of pine trees everywhere. They just kind of disappeared. And for a few months every day, I'd have armadillo, raccoons, deer, coyotes on my cameras. Then about 3 weeks ago, everything disappeared. I live on 50 acres that's wooded, but it's not really wilderness. We're only a mile or so from Tennessee River, but at the same time, there's houses pretty close, and the interstate highway is only a mile in the other direction. They take entire trash bags in the woods and take them apart. No claw or bite marks. Canines and coons can't do that. They either outsmart my cameras or the camera will have an empty file. I know you're not big on camera footage, but I just want to get proof of them so I can get some help getting rid of them. I have a dog and fiance, and she's here all day while I work and don't believe in them. And she insists on mowing fields and clearing brush because we're building a campground. The other night, my dog had been sick a few days, so there was a lot of chicken and dog food in the bag of trash. And they came back and went through the trash bag in the burn barrel. It licked everything clean in these disposable plate bowl things I feed my dog with. It even opened an empty detergent bottle and a bunch of spit bottles. I dipped tobacco. I guess it probably got sick, is why it hasn't come back. I don't have any cameras on the barrel at that time because I hadn't had any activity there. But now I have cameras with the lights covered, stashed in lumber and scrap metal close to the barrel. They apparently don't mess with any of the neighbors' animals, but I just worry about my woman and the dog. This stuff is very interesting to me, but I don't want them here. You don't have to read this if you don't want to, but if you do, that's fine too. Thanks for the channel. I think you're a good dude. I also can't wait for the knowledge drop. All right, when was this? July 22. Okay, man. I hope since then you've had no bad luck. Scott Carpenter can definitely give you a hand. Look him up and get a hold of him, all right? And I think, obviously, the infrared, any triggered camera isn't going to work. But I do believe that possibly security cameras that run nonstop work, as long as I believe there's no IR or thermal anything on that, I think. So you may want to try that maybe. if you want to catch them on video. Maybe. I'm not a professional. I don't know. Here comes another one. Another member of the Club of No Return. My first recollection is the title of this email. My name is Bill. Hope this finds you and your family well. Please forgive the punctuation and grammar. Please forgive my awkward reading at times. Make yourself comfortable as this will take a while. I'm here, man. My sister and I often played outside as kids while our parents slept, as they worked late. My first memory of Sasquatch was as a child. I remember seeing two of these beings walking through the timber. I was very young, around 4 years old, and had a very protective 110-pound German shepherd named Doc who had my back, so my parents didn't worry. We were on a camping trip, but I don't even know where we were. We traveled extensively throughout the Northwest at the time, so it could have been anywhere, as my mom and stepdad were musicians in the late 60s. Honestly, this encounter is very vague and brief, no drama or anything scary. I definitely remember the creatures and the features of the beings, but I wasn't afraid. I don't remember anything else about that encounter. My sister has no recollection of this event, and my parents have both passed, so I can't verify or discuss this with them. Event number 2 was much more clear and happened in the mountains of southwest Montana, as a friend and I were bow hunting elk during the September archery season. Elk hunters, go figure. Again, my late 20s and my job kept me from taking extensive time off during the fall. We arrived at a camping spot late that Friday night and got camp put up about dark. A late season thunderstorm rolled in after midnight. I looked at my watch and saw 12:44 as a lightning bolt sizzled across the sky in the canyon above us. I swear to God I could see the bones in my fingers, it was so bright. After the storm rolled through, a wet, heavy snow carpeted the ground at 8,500 elevation, and we could hear several elk bugling in the timber above us. By dawn, about 3 inches had fallen and the tent was sagging. After cleaning up the tent and prepping our hunt, we rolled out of our camp, heading up the mountain to the sound of 4 bulls bugling, and we followed them up the mountain on the trail, one ridge over so we didn't spook them. Around 10:30, the sun finally poked through, and being thoroughly soaked from the melting snow, we moved out of the timber onto a rocky point into the sunshine. The snow had melted off in the open, and the bulls had quieted before we could catch them, so we opted to dry off our socks and feet and have a snack in the morning sun. We set our gear down above us, took off our boots, and wrung the water out of our socks, hanging them on sticks to dry in the sun. We snacked and played with a new cow call I had just gotten, taking turns making different calls on the call and trying to teach John how to bugle. Just basically killing time and drying off. In the distance, we could hear a sound like people talking, though it seemed foreign or weird as it approached us, like a monkey with a mouthful of marbles. My own experience with what I since have heard in the recordings of the Sierra sounds. It stopped about around 100 yards, as I figured they cut our tracks coming out onto the ridge. Thinking our hunt was blown with other people in the area, we continued to dry out and worked on calling skills. About 10 minutes later, a mature 6-point approached crosswind beside us, and the Chinese fire drill was on. John crawled to his gear, retrieving his bow and release as I rolled off the rocks barefoot, getting my bugle and cow call. Didn't get a shot at this bull, but man, were we excited. No doubt. We completely forgot about the sounds we had heard right before the bull came in. Until recently, I never gave the sounds a second thought, though I had noticed the trails in that area to be different, well-worn and very packed down. No discernible tracks, but very well-worn packed trails. My third encounter is with my daughter, 15 or so miles across the mountains and in another drainage. She was 13 and working hard for her first elk. We'd opted for an area that seemed to get less pressure from the camps in the area. After walking up the horse trail about 2 miles, we turned and headed straight up a steep mountain through deadfall and brush to get to the bench area I'd killed an elk in the year before. My daughter asked how much further to the top a couple of times, and my reply was 100 more yards every time. Pretty soon I was getting that glare she had learned from her mother. That's funny. Side note, I always, as soon as my hunters or whoever, as soon as they start asking how much farther, you know they're getting tired. Every time. There's no other reason why they start asking that one. And they would say, I just want to know, just out of curious sakes. Like, no, you're getting tired. Sorry. I assured her that there were elk up here and it would be worth it. As we crest another rise and she realized we still weren't to the top, we heard the loudest growl/bark/scream I've ever heard. The sound moved up my pant legs and I could feel it on my chest. As we both raised our rifles in the direction of the sound, she asked, what was that? I said I had no idea, but we weren't going to go that way anymore. The rest of the day we hunted and saw one small bull, though no shot. We visited another camp that night, where we met a guy years earlier and knew his nieces were in camp this week. The girls all played travel softball and volleyball, so though they didn't know each other, but had that and hunting in common. During our visit, I described our encounter, and Travis's eyes lifted up. He described a similar encounter where he had heard the same sound chasing elk into a small canyon less than a quarter mile from where our encounter happened 2 years earlier. He and his brother spotted the elk from above and each went opposite ways to cut off the elk's retreat. As they approached, probably a couple hundred yards apart, and 100 yards still above the elk, Travis described the same scream/roar. He hurried over to make sure something wasn't eating his brother. They both decided there were better places to hunt and gracefully retreated. After sharing our encounters, we decided the area was a good place not to be and now to avoid it. I recently found your page and others while recovering from a fall while ice fishing, a grade 4 concussion, and I damaged my neck, which had previously fused in several places after many years of football. Oh, that sucks. These sites led me to These sites led me to put all this together, and my conclusions are these beings exist and are widely distributed throughout the world. It is no coincidence that they have a place in legend and life in many cultures. My last encounter happened May of this year and was very interesting from the perspective you have described as mind speak. I was working on a remote ranch wrapping up a construction project, working by myself. Just after lunch, I had the feeling you describe as pressure. I continued to work, but my focus became observing the timber around and finding the source of the pressure. Having guided archery hunters for years, I have felt the presence of grizzlies and mountain lions before seeing them, but this was different. My hair, or what's left of it, didn't stand on end, but I could feel something. On a hunch, I cleared my mind. Are you near? I asked my mind. An owl hooted deeply less than 200 yards above me in the timber. Without turning my head, I looked in that direction as nonchalantly through the side of my sunglasses, unable to see the owl, I kept working. This is right after 1 in the middle of the day. 4 more hoots in quick succession, much louder than any owl I've ever heard. I tried to spy the source of the sound, but was unable to see anything out there. I finished the project and left without any further incidents. Though I haven't had a face-to-face as an adult, I really don't need one to believe they exist. Some of the details you have shared from others have helped me understand and piece together these experiences. Thanks. For you only. Okay, man. All right, gotcha. I don't know when the date is on this. When is this? July 22. All right. Yeah, fishing. I should be available for fishing possibly July, August this year. And I'll let everybody know. All right, man? Thanks for that email, especially the location. Appreciate it. And a lot of people are going to appreciate it from your area as well, without a doubt. And a lot of people probably have had the same experience, similar experience near where you were, right? Keep an eye on the comment section below for somebody to chime in. This is titled, A Hot Handprint, No Shit. Title of this email. You can share my name if you wish. My name is Steve Hardy. I'm 51 years old, avid outdoorsman, born and raised in the Rocky Mountains of Utah. I've had over 8 Bigfoot experiences, and I'm still remember any more. So I'm just going to share the last one that happened to my friend Joel Painter and I. It was 2 different winters ago on a mule deer hunt in Williams, Arizona. I left a bag of rotten potatoes out that night as we got in late around 1 a.m. We left the rotten bag of potatoes outside because I'd forgotten them from the last time I went camping, and they stunk rather bad. I left them underneath the tree that was apparent had been used for hanging animals during previous hunts. So I probably meant which had apparently been used for hanging animals during previous hunts. As you can see, the woman, the rope left there, her mother hunters. Okay, we got some typos. Let's get through it though. We'll make sense of it. When we woke up for the morning of the opener, my friend Joel walked outside and lit a cigarette. I heard him say to me, "Hey Steve, come out here. Come out here and look at this," he said. I said, "Hold on, I haven't got my boots on yet. I'm barely getting dressed." And he says, "Hurry up, come look real quick." So I stepped down the stairs out of the travel trailer and looked at the sight to behold. Wow, a huge handprint almost the entire size of the SUV front passenger window. He says, "What do you think of that?" Uh-oh, hold on. False alarm, thankfully. Wow, a huge, handprint, almost the entire size of the SUV front passenger window. He says, "What do you think of that?" And I says, "What do I think of that? Get back on the effing RV right now." And we did. We armed ourselves and agreed not to go out alone in the dark. So off we went and headed out. And I got a couple of pics of it. The craziest part was when we looked at it, you could tell that the glass was completely dry. And you could see the dermal ridges and fingerprints and even what appeared to be claw marks, except I just think they were long fingernails because the dermal ridges from the palm and the skin contact area was very plain to see. Looked just like the dermal ridges on my own hand. And Jill wasn't out there but 1 minute, and that was melted completely through and dry. So I think the animal is extremely warm-blooded. And when it walked past the trailer, being attracted by the smell of the rotting potatoes, that would be a new smell in the area, it came to investigate, as it has in the past walked through there and investigated near that campsite because of the hanging tree that would have plenty of scent under it from previous hunters and hanging their kills in the same tree, as I stated earlier. The handprint was completely dry, and the rest of the window had heavy frost all over it. Pretty amazing, huh? Well, that's one story I want to share with you. I will continue to share some more and let you know about other true Hardy Boy adventures I have had. Until then, take care, Steve. I like hearing about other people's experiences that bring back how reality of the experiences I have had are and do affect our reality of our surroundings. I have plenty more for you. Looking forward to sharing more. Until that time, thanks. It's good work. Take care of yourself and family. God bless you in all your righteous efforts. Thank you for sharing my experiences. Steve Hardy. Okay, man. Here's a screenshot. I don't know if I can get that on here clear enough for you guys, maybe. It's hard to discern myself, but there you go. Is that working? There is the handprint. I'll have to take your word for it. There's dermal ridges and everything, so we're definitely not gonna be able to see those on this photo. But that is frickin' big though, isn't it? That's a big frickin' print, whatever that is. Looking forward to hearing more from you, man. Keep sending it, all right? Keep sending in. You got something that's gonna help somebody out here. Keep sending it in. This is titled Pennsylvania Rifle Season 2021 Encounter. This is sent July 22. Hi Steve, love watching your videos. Appreciate all the work you do to make sure these stories/encounters are heard. It was opening day of the 21 PA deer rifle season. My dad, uncles, and I have a cabin in Potter County, north central Pennsylvania. This season, we were given a tip from a friend. Dog's acting funny. This season, we were given a tip from a friend of ours about a location being prepped for logging that had multiple 120-inch plus whitetail bucks caught on camera. So we're excited to go and hunt this new area. It's pretty remote and rugged mountainous area on the border of Potter and Clinton County, roughly a 2-mile walk from where we parked our truck. The opening morning, my dad, uncle, and I walked into the run we're going to hunt for the day. At the mouth of the run, we all split up. One person going up each ridge of the valley, and the third through the valley. It was cold and snowing a little bit. It has snowed just enough to put a fresh dusting on the ground, which is great for tracking deer and seeing pretty far through the forest. I ended up taking the left side ridge of the valley, and it was one of the steepest mountains I've ever hunted in PA. By around noon, I was up on top of the mountain, pushing my way through the mountain laurel, so thick you couldn't see more than 5 feet in front of your face. And it was well over my head, and I'm 6'2". I was working my way back toward the ridge of the valley, and was planning on walking the ridge out to hunt the benches below, hoping to catch a buck bedded down. Just as I made it to the ridge, the laurel started to thin out. Clear as day, I could see fresh tracks running away from my direction directly in front of me towards the ridge line. At the ridge line, there was a 4 to 5 foot high cliff that ran the length of the ridge for a ways, and the tracks ran directly off the cliff, landed in the dusting of snow at the bottom, and continued down into another sparse patch of mountain laurel on the bench below. I went down to the bottom of the cliff to examine the tracks to see if I could identify what had made them. When I got to where the tracks had landed, I heard a very deep grunting growl come off the bench below where the tracks disappeared, maybe 20 yards away. I've been an avid hunter in north central PA since I was 12 years old. At 28, I've experienced a lot of different animal encounters in the woods, but never a sound like this, and couldn't tell what the tracks were. The noise had stopped me in my tracks. I shouldered my .308 rifle in that direction, couldn't move for a solid 10 minutes out of fear. After a while, the feeling went away, and I didn't hear or see anything move or run away from that direction. With the snow on the ground, I would have clearly seen the contrast of a brown or black fur in the distance, but saw nothing. I ended up walking away from that area with an uneasy feeling in my gut. The next morning, my uncle and I went back to hunt the same valley. That night, starting around 1 a.m., we got about 3 inches of snow. We got into the valley around 4 a.m. and began walking up the center of the valley in the dark. Came across a set of tracks that were put in the snow maybe an hour or so before we got there that came down off the top of the mountain into the valley and up the other side. They were bipedal tracks with much longer stride than I can make. And at 6'2", 170, I can make a pretty long stride. The tracks were coming from a direction where there were no access roads or trails and going directly up a mountainside so steep you could stand on the side of the hill, reach your hand out, and touch the mountain in front of you without bending over. And we couldn't see another person there for the last 2 days, so it was baffling to us who could have made those tracks. We decided not to think too hard about it because it was a really eerie feeling and continued our hunt. We didn't get any deer from that valley that year, but I did happen to step on a whitetail shed in the snow measuring 70 inches on the Boone and Crockett scale. That was extremely awesome to find and made the whole hunt worth it. That's pretty cool. That's a wicked picture too, man. That's a good find. In one of your videos, you talked about a mountain that you shed hunt on and how you don't go in certain areas because of a pressure you feel. Unfortunately, I feel what I can only imagine might be the same pressure when I return to that area. It's a really weird and frightening feeling. Thanks for listening, Garrett. Garrett, thanks for the email, man. Appreciate it. And that is a beauty shed. For all you hunters out there, probably like seeing that one. That's awesome. And feeling the pressure, yeah, it sounds exactly what that's exactly what I get to feel on my one particular mountain. And I shared with you guys before, I was going through I'm looking for the sheds of this one particular buck for I don't know how many years now. And I've been watching him migrate, hit my cameras. I know where he goes in the summer, where he grows his antlers. I know where he goes to rut and which way he migrates out. I've tracked this buck for 32 kilometers as the crow flies numerous times. And I think I've narrowed it down to 1 or 2 hills where he drops where he might drop his antlers. But anyway, there's one particular hill, and I just can't help it. Like, it's almost like the mountain's like this. Let's just pretend it's a loaf of bread. And it's almost like I have this side of the loaf and something else has the other side of the loaf. Because in probably 16, 17 years, I'll go up this very top as high as I can get, start going back towards the backside where these huge ancient cedars grow. They're big and never been logged. And then I just get that pressure. And a friend of mine was a boxer, fit guy. He was a very good friend. He was jogging on the logging road as the crow flies at the other end of that mountain. And something was paralleling him in the timber and scared the living shit out of him while he was running there. And then across the valley on the backside loaf down the bottom, up the other side, there's another place there where a lot of people frequent, snowmobile, hike and hunt, and a couple made mention there last year, and they saw barefoot tracks coming down off that mountain heading towards my mountain in the snow, 6-foot strides in the snow. That was only a year ago, I believe, not about a year ago. And then from where I'm on my side of the mountain, where I feel a little bit of pressure, but it's comfortable enough for me to keep going. And directly across is where I film those bright lights up in those steep, nasty peaks in about -20 at 5:30 in the morning. And it just goes on and on and on. But anyways, what I was getting at was I walked down my main trail, this trail, pumping through these huge, big timber, cedars, fir tree, never been logged, big trees. We're talking 6-foot, 7-foot trees at the base, right? And I walk through there very slow, and I don't miss a thing because all the black-tailed deer typically will lay at the base of the big fir trees. It's a given. And that's where I usually find all my big shed antlers. So I've walked this trail who knows how many times over the years. And I walked the trail. First time in the spring, there was enough snow to, everything's bare. And I'm looking. I don't miss anything. I take my time. I did the length of the trail. I came back, and here was the one half side of that buck that I was looking for. But the shed was over a year old, maybe even 2 seasons old. You could tell by the wear on it and the lichen and stuff. And it was literally placed right in the middle of that trail, right in the middle of it, that I walked in the trail and walked back. And in 16, 17 years, I've never had a human being on my trail cameras in that patch ever. Nobody goes in there but me. I can say that with absolute confidence. So, sorry about that babble, you guys. I just brought a memory up of him just grabbing the pressure that he feels, and seeing that shit antler brought me right to one of my favorite places to go. You gotta listen to your instincts, though, right? Listen to your instincts. All right, what's this one? This is titled, My Piece of the Puzzle, a Confirmation. All right, that's what we're after. Give me it. Hi, Steve and the How to Hunt family. I don't have a face-to-face encounter to report, but got my confirmation of an important part of my puzzle and felt led to write to you, as there may be others that would benefit from hearing this. Anyway, just a quick bit about me. My name is Cheryl. I'm 49 years old and I live in Wyoming. I grew up in Wyoming, Montana, and South Dakota, and I've lived in Wyoming since 75 or so. I'm a disabled RN, and thankful for that now, as I see all that's going on in our medical establishments and with many of the doctors, scientists, pharmacists, and nurses that are promoting lies and causing harm. Many unknowingly, they're deceived, but many that know better, but were threatened with their livelihood and their reputations should they resist the propaganda agenda. But that's enough of that. I heard of Bigfoot or Sasquatch, as everyone has, if they are older than 10 or so, but was convinced that these beings are real when I was around 30. And stressing over writing a research paper for a freshman English class. I was a little late in starting my education, LOL. Anyway, a friend said, quote, just write about something interesting, like Sasquatch or something, end quote. And so I did. By the time I had done all the research and written the paper, I was absolutely convinced they are real. I got an A too, by the way. So I found your channel by accident, Steve, a year or more ago, but was intrigued and have listened faithfully. You, Steve, are such an honest and real person. Your compassion for people that have, by no fault of their own, joined the club of no return. Shows in all you say and do. I'm a fan. We need more people like you in this world. So, I've become a Jesus follower in recent years, and I subscribe to the Nephilim explanation for what these beings are. I've heard you say that you've received many emails and letters from people saying they believe this, and it was confirmed for me. All right. I was reading the Bible, a NKJV in 2 Samuel chapter 18, verse 8, and it says, quote, For the battle there was scattered over the face of the whole countryside, and the woods devoured more people that day than the sword devoured, end quote. It jumped at me. I looked for more scriptures, and I was led to another scripture for more confirmation. Joshua chapter 17, verse 15. Quote, Then go to the forest country and clear a place for yourselves in the land of Perizzites, and the giants, end quote. You see, this was the land where the battle described in 2 Samuel 18:8 took place and was known to be a stronghold of the giants. The Bible states the Nephilim, the offspring of the fallen angels and daughters of man, were giants. This also follows along with the DNA evidence showing unknown male DNA and human women. For me, this is big confirmation. There's much truth to be learned in the Bible and by revelation of the Holy Spirit. I mean, who would have the answers if not the Creator of all? I'm not sure that all will be revealed in our time remaining on this earth. However, I know we're in the last days, and I always think of the Sabbath when I read Revelation 6:8. And power was given them over a fourth of the earth to kill with swords, with hunger, with death, and the beasts of the earth. Sabbath would definitely qualify for that one. And one last thought, alluding to my little rant about the medical establishment. I recently heard a prophet say that Revelation 6 about the first seal, the conqueror. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. The prophet is Robin Bullock, and he states the bow is the poisonous dart, and they are trying to get into everyone's arm, and the crown is also called a corona. Much truth in the good book. I just want to thank you, Steve, for who you are and what you're doing, what you do for us all. May God bless you and yours, and you too and yours too. Thanks for that email. Some people are going to be shaking their head up and down. Some people are going to be going, please stop. And that's just the way it is. I mean, so everybody, you know the routine. Take from it what you will or leave it, right? But you can look into everything yourselves, and that's what everybody's supposed to be doing. Come up with your own puzzle piece. If you feel it's worthy, share it, all right? Thanks again for sending that in, the kind words of encouragement. All right, what do we got? I Shine in Your Woods is the title of this one. All right. Hey there. You absolutely need to watch your last upload. When you're talking about going into the woods behind you, the I Shine is incredible. They are waiting for you. Take care, but please look behind you in that video. January 5th, 2023. You may want to look on your own video, but my attachment. All right, I don't have enough, excuse me. I don't have enough juice connection here to check out your video link. But there you go. I mean, I get this. I get look behind you comments and emails weekly, daily, probably just weekly. All right. So January 5th, 2023, for all you sleuths out there, I don't know anything about it. I'll have a look when I go in. All right. Excuse me. Here's another short one. I'm back into the recent emails, I think. Important note about story from Piketon, Ohio, near Waverly. The one fact the witness left out was that in Pike County, very near Waverly, is the DOE facility that used to be called the Goodyear Uranium Enrichment Facility. It's a nuclear facility. Just thought that might be of interest to you. Take care. It is interest to me, and probably many other people sitting here sucking in information. Nuclear power connection is very real. with a lot of these beings and more. That's all there is to it. All right. Here's another one. Thanks for that heads up. Appreciate it. That's handy information for someone, including me. It's titled, Once You Record Your Own Footage. Hello. Your channel's impressive with the stories so many people have to share. Why are there still skeptics? Dunno. Beyond me. Not much for concern, though. For balance, I would suppose. I've always believed Bigfoot exists. I remember the Patterson footage from when I was a child. That footage solidified my beliefs. Bigfoot exists. Bigfoot is worldwide. It wasn't until recently that I discovered the Sasquatch could be more than just an unstudied species, but more of a paranormal being. That they make themselves known to certain people in times of internal struggle. If true, then quite possibly they do know the secrets of time travel or interdimensional travel. All I know is that we as human meat suits, our senses are very limited, and I have at times wondered just how much is going on right in front of me that I'm unaware of. Yeah, me too. It wasn't until 2 years after losing my dad to cancer, I discovered that I had my very own Sasquatch video. I had footage of my dad's wedding from May 2006 on videotape, and the very next footage is of a trip I had taken to northern Minnesota near the end of the same month. I never made a copy of Dad's wedding footage for him and his new bride due to the poorly recorded audio. Dad's widow made comment of it, and I knew I had to still get a copy of their nuptials to her. In reviewing the videotape in early 2022, I ended up reviewing some of the vacation footage, and that was when I saw it. It's typical footage, shaky and quickly zooming out as the being came into frame. It was obvious to me that I wasn't aware of what I had just recorded at the time of the taping. I've been struggling with losing Dad. He was my cheat sheet in life. He was my rejuvenation anytime I felt I was losing myself. We believed we could almost be telepathic with each other, and we had a strong bond. He showed me that there is a place our energy goes when our meat suits are worn out. He gave me a sign. Simply put, I asked in my head if he was happy that I ended up acquiring his 92 D250 with a 12-valve Cummins. As I rounded the front end of the truck, I saw in the dust on the driver's side fender a smiley face that looked like it had been drawn in by someone's finger. I had a flood of emotion that was so surreal. I knew that was my dad letting me know he's happy. I believed that in 2006 I had recorded something that I knew I would need to discover 16 years later. When that happened, I was dumbfounded and thought if every skeptic could videotape their own Sasquatch footage, they'd believe. Not sure why, but it is different to have your own footage than merely seeing everyone else's on TV. I suppose that would be because it is your footage. It is your reality. I tried to think of every way I could debug this footage, but all signs point back to this is a Bigfoot. It is up to all viewers to make that determination for themselves. Now, where do I send it? Who can help me share this? Here we are in the first couple of days in 2023, and I stumbled upon you and your channel. You are who I send this to. You are the one that can help me share my discovery. I hope this all makes it to you. Due to the amount of time that has passed, all of my video equipment is from the late 90s. I currently have no way to retrieve the digital files. I was able to capture the footage from the tape as an analog file, and I'm still working on retrieving the digital version. In the footage, there is a clearing in the middle of the frame. It is near the top of the clearing, on the right-hand side, that the being emerges. Thank you for your channel, and I apologize if my email is all over the place. I'm eager to share this footage. It was shot at a popular ski resort near Lake Superior. If the digital footage can be acquired, I will share with you as soon as I can. You are appreciated, Stephen. Thank you sincerely, Julie Young. Julie, thank you so much, and I have a feeling this is the video. It is. Here he comes, titled. This is the video we shared a few days ago, and I didn't know where it came from. Sweet. Well, now we have the missing, now we have the explanation for the video and why it panned back. And I had a feeling that whoever made that video just didn't see what was coming out and didn't know it was coming out and just happened to possibly be panning back, right? I've done that a million times. That is exciting for me. I'll share that video again, all right? I'm glad you got it to us, and if you do have a digital version, send it over. Send it over again. And I absolutely appreciate your email, big time. Thank you so much for sending that, Julie. I'm glad you got that message from your father as well. And that's not an uncommon thing to happen, is it? What's this? Oh, I don't know. This is about military and shots. So it's not related to our topic today. Maybe another page. See what I mean? I got a lot of emails in here that aren't related. So I sort of have to quickly sift through to make sure that it's about the topic at hand. So this email I just cracked open is a monster. I don't have time to share that now. What's this one? All right, this is titled Knee Jerked. Sounds familiar. I wonder if I read this. We're going to find out. Okay, give me a minute. I hate people in BS. Just listened to something on TikTok that wrenched my guts. Been watching you since you started with hunting, but that's regardless. Have I seen one of these? No, I have not. I have seen what the F ever you want to call it. Looked like a human-shaped jackal, I guess. The only reason I say that is I remember watching Mutual of Omaha every Sunday, and that's what it looked like. Here's the experience as I remember it. I left home and was living in a garage with an outhouse. I was 16, hunting, gathering, and fishing. It was how I ate, other than a $200 a week Domino's job. Please understand, I was raised around and by Vietnam and Korean War vets. They taught us to stalk, never to look at what you're going to kill because they will feel your eyes. Only look when you pull the trigger. So, I hadn't turkey hunted, nor have I ever since. I found scratch signs, saw a honeysuckle bush, on a pine tree, perfect blind. Crawled in just to feel comfortable. And no gun, by the way. That doesn't happen ever now. There was plenty of noise, from fishermen on the lake to bugs everywhere, and it all stopped. Period. Nothing. I was taught when Mother Nature goes quiet, you do the same or run like hell. My stepfather was native, by the way, and I'm not. And oh, by the way, never whistle or sing. It came down and followed the path I took. It went up exactly where I would have if I had kept going. F the German Shepherd crap. This thing was a straight up jackal. I mean, period. It was male and didn't have the legs you would expect, all while not looking at it, period. Only side glancing it. Not sure what the channel name is, but what I heard, I swear to Christ, scared the shit out of me. A couple more experiences, but literally typing all this is taxing. By the way, former LEO and current trucker. Contact info provided. Would rather talk than type. Paul, use my name or not, I don't give an F. Short and to the point. Gotcha, Paul. Appreciate you, man. I get my shit together eventually and start talking to people for real. I'll be looking you up, all right? Sounds like it was a shit-eating experience, but I believe you. Non-stop. Okay, I'm gonna go one more and then I gotta go in and I gotta start getting my stuff ready. Title Sierra Nevada Experiences and Camping with My Dogs, email number 2. Please do not share my name. Gotcha. Hello, Steve. I have a personal experience I want to share with everyone. I am living proof of the value of having dogs with young people in the woods, forests, or just outdoors in general. As a young boy, roughly around the age of 6 or 7 years old, I'd been fishing with my father and his best friend, whose family had owned a cabin not far from Capel's Lake in California off of Highway 88. Now they have an idea where this experience took place. Here's what I recall the situation. My father and his best friend arrived at the fishing spot in the early morning hours. This family friend grew up hunting and fishing throughout Northern California and the Western United States. This is one of my first experiences with fishing on the high Sierras, for that matter. So being a bit young for an interest in fishing, I ended up wandering off with a pair of Labrador retrievers in the forest as my father and his friend fished. In my youth, I had grown up with a dog or dogs in our home. I've been taught that dogs are protectors and to trust them for safety, even at that young age. I would say especially at a young age. Needless to say, my father and his friend began looking for the dogs and myself instantly once they realized that the dogs and I were missing. Steve, I have almost no recall of the time I spent with those dogs alone while lost in those mountains. Later the same day, about 4 or 5 hours later, after having gone off with the dogs, I encountered a member of law enforcement, perhaps a sheriff's deputy or a forest ranger, who reported discovering the dogs and myself to their respective office. Upon a report, he was informed that my father and his friend had reported me as missing. Thankfully, I survived. It was just as easily, it could have been a much worse outcome. I spent most of my life in and around the Sierra Nevada mountains and their respective foothills over the past 45 years. As I mentioned in my previous email to you, that I take every opportunity to be outdoors still to this day. Hope that my story prevents someone in the future from this sort of situation. Needless to say, I gained a very healthy respect for the woods from that day forward. Thank you, Jeff Hughes. Missing kids in the woods. There's no shortage, and I couldn't imagine being a parent, a relative, or friend of a child missing in the forest and attempting to find them. That would just suck. Keep your kids close and keep them with canines when you are in the woods or living rural. Excuse me. Okay, one more quick one. I may have read this because I had a few LEOs right in with this answer. The question of why they stay away from people and an answer to your question regarding when law enforcement officers get calls about the hairy people. All right. Hi, Steve. Wrote to you once prior. But that one was just for some info. Excuse me. Patrick is my name, and it is my real name. I'm a 24-year law enforcement officer working for LA County. Hoping to retire very soon. Just got back from Whistler in Vancouver Island. And man, what a beautiful mountainous green country you live in, Steve. I'm definitely coming back for some fishing and exploring. Okay, let's get down to business here. I completely believe the hairy ones stay away from us as humans in general is due to what the hairy people see around us. What do I mean by that? I completely believe that they can see in the spirit realm. You know, the one we can't see, but oftentimes have that feeling something isn't right? Yes, the spirit realm is where people say they saw a ghost or whatever they want to call it. I personally call them demonic spirits. Well, Sabbath can see them, and they also see our angels that protect us. It isn't mind speak when a Sabbath tells you to get the hell out of there. Most times it's your protection angel. Some people call it a guardian angel. These people can see them, and they know we are generally protected. I've used prayer and the authority of the blood of Jesus Christ to make sure I clear areas I felt were dangerous. I've encountered evil-ass monsters in my time, and they were as human as you or I. But us humans are very capable of insane evil. We're also very capable of great goodness. The Sabbath I usually push back far into the forest with a combination of prayer and using the blood of Jesus in my prayer. I even pray for you and your family to be protected too. Does it work? Most skeptics would say no way, but I know for a fact it works. Being in law enforcement, it has come in very handy knowing how to use spiritual warfare. So yes, you can be a pretty scary sight to a Sabbath when you're all prayed up, even if you're not. Even if the unbelievers have angels around them. I felt them, Sabbath, around, but never too close to me. I've had partners who have seen them out in the mountains during patrol, and they don't say much at all to any supervisor. If we get calls on them, we will not put in our reports, we saw a Sabbath. They never believe us anyway. Anyway, God bless you and your family, Steve. That includes the little doggy. Happy New Year and stay safe, Patrick. Happy New Year and stay safe to you too, Patrick, and I absolutely appreciate you sending that in with those words. That's going to be helpful to a lot of people, and I agree with you completely. Anyway, I gotta get going. Excuse me, that reminds me, you guys want to hear a joke? On the guardian angel. So picture this one. There's a Canadian, Frenchman, an American. They're in a lifeboat drifting in the middle of nowhere. They've been shipwrecked. They made the lifeboat and they're laying there dying. They got huge beards or sun-baked skin and no water, no wind, just laying there in the boat floating. All of a sudden, fairy godmother appears above their boat. The guardian angel, she looks down all three of them. She says, each one of you is granted one wish and one wish only, and that one wish will come true. And then poof, she's gone. American's looking around. It's like, man, y'all believe that? That was the fairy godmother, a guardian angel. Man, she was here. She's saving us. She gave us each one wish. Man, I wish I was out here with my boy watching a football game. Poof. He's gone out of the lifeboat. Gone. It's just the Frenchman and the Canadian sitting there on the boat. The Canadian looks up. Holy shit, eh? Can you believe that? The fairy godmother's here to save our asses. And he just made his wish to go home and he's gone. She's saved. Oh man, I wish I was back in Canada. Back at Canada at home in the living room watching a hockey game. Poof! He's gone out of the boat. It's just the Frenchman sitting there, sitting in the boat, lifeboat, sitting there watching, looking around, all bewildered. Oh my God, I cannot believe it. The fairy godmother, she give us a one wish each, and that one wish comes true. Oh man. Well, it sure is lonely here in this survival boat by myself. I wish those two would come back.